I think what was good for me is actually understanding how to build a website, understanding all these elements so that when I did have to outsource the sewing, outsource the fulfillment, I could give them a full brief. I could check their work. I knew exactly the standard that I had started and set, and that I wanted them to then take over and even exceed. So outsourcing was huge. And then just in life in general was finding balance. So if I didn't want to be burning the candle at all ends, I had to find that balance between being a mum and a wife, church and ministry, and also, running a business. And so that's why the outsourcing was so important, because it freed me up. And even outsourcing recently to fulfillment has freed me up even more. I think those are the really main three things for me: understanding business in general and knowing what I wanted, outsourcing, and also finding balance.
Well, I'm Camelle-ilona Daley, a fashion designer. Grew up in church. I've always had a love for business, fashion, marketing, and ministry. And in some beautiful, amazing way, God has managed to bring all those things together to create a business I absolutely love and enjoy. Yeah, so when I say grew up in church, I mean after my mum had me, she kept forgetting me, and she'd walk out of church forgetting she's had a baby, and they'd be like, "You've left something in someone inside." So when I grew up in church, I mean, like, when I was born, my first weeks I was in church, and my dad was a preacher, my uncle was my pastor for years, and just always been around church and ministry. Yes, I'm in England. I'm in the UK, in a city probably about an hour north of London called Milton Keynes. Well, I studied at the London College of Fashion. I did fashion in school and just always had a love and a passion for it. Um, and started a fashion label with some friends, and kind of did a few different things fashion related. And it was 10 years ago now, that my dad passed away, and it was just a really reflective time in my life. And um, he had actually given me my middle name, which no one can pronounce. um, and so I just looked it up, and I just thought, what does it mean anyway? So I looked up the meaning of Ilona and actually found out it was Hungarian for beauty. And I absolutely loved that. Fell in love with the name, and kind of really accepted it as like a gift from my dad. And literally a day or two later, I was in the shower and I just heard House of Ilona, House of Beauty for earthly and spiritual royalty. And it just blew my mind. And I knew right then I had to start my own fashion label. And that's how House of Ilona started. So I went to the London College of Fashion. I didn't actually study fashion design. I actually studied fashion business, because I wanted to do a business course, but I thought I may find it boring because I know what I'm like. So I studied business at the London College of Fashion in the heart of London's Oxford Street. I was in my absolute fashion element. And so once I started that label, House of Ilona, I just had my first child, and so I was doing a lot of bespoke work for people. So I had done collections, and I'd have people saying, "Okay, can I have that jacket but in that colour?" And so I was doing a lot of bespoke work, which worked well for me at the time. And actually a friend of mine, she was about 30, and she had just been ordained a youth minister, and she hadn't been wearing her collar to communion service, which was once a month. And so she said, "Camille, can you just make me a dress, because I don't want to wear the ugly shirt." And so I literally just designed her a simple black knee length short sleeve dress with the collar. And one of the simplest things I've made out of the vast range of designs I had done back then. And she was just like, "Everyone loves this dress, they're all asking where I got it from," and just this whole hype about this really simple dress. So I thought I would just put it on my website just as a sideline to see if anyone else may be interested, and ran some Facebook ads and had to stop the ads because I couldn't sew fast enough. and that's where it all began. So now clergy wear is all I do. We have a warehouse, we've got huge amounts of stock, we sell through our website every day, we ship around the world, and it's just an incredible journey. And if you'd have told me 10, 15 years ago this is what I'd be doing, I didn't even know that there was a niche that existed. So it's just been incredible. Yeah, this definitely, that definitely propelled things. I had already been doing a lot of fashion and bespoke work, like I said, and I did have a few clients who were ministers, that I would maybe make robes for and things like that. So, you know, there was a little here and there, but nothing major, nothing compared to what there is now. So there wasn't a shop or anything. It was just literally me at home with my sewing machine and overlocker, my laptop, making connections, putting things together, spreading the word through social media, and just kind of gaining a reputation of as the go-to person for bespoke clothing. Sure. I do have a good overall sense of business because I studied business, so I used to help my dad with his business, you know, so I kind of had a good sense for kind of being that one-man band and managing all the processes. So one of the first challenges was outsourcing. And can I trust someone to make things as good as I would make them? Can I trust them, you know, with different arms and elements of the business? So that was a huge area of trust that I had to do. So the first time, everything I had ever designed, I had physically made myself. So the first time someone else produced and manufactured my designs was mind-blowing, you know, because everything I design, I make. So to design something and have someone else make it was amazing. And, you know, the quality was even more superior to what I would do, because that's actually what they are experts in, and what they are really good at. So that was amazing. And once I had a taste of that, I was like, oh, I can do some more of this. Because trying to run everything myself, I would be marketing and pushing the business all day long, doing ads and doing all of that side of things. And then I'd find myself in the evening, right, now I've generated all this interest, now I've got to sit and sew all of this. So when I was sewing it, I was so tired in the night because I'm burning the candle at every end possible. So outsourcing was a huge deal. But once I started it, it was just amazing. And, you know, I don't look back. Another big area of the business that I've recently outsourced is the fulfillment. Speaking to one of my business coaches, and they just said, we feel like you're spending too much time on the fulfillment side of things. And I've always known that one day I would, but I wasn't ready. And the fulfillment is basically, you know, they have the stock, they get the orders that come through my website, it goes straight through to them, they pick and pack and ship. So they handle that whole side of the business for me. So when I was still working out of my home, I wasn't ready to handle my products over to someone. I still wanted to manage it myself. Once we moved into the office and I had staff, I was already one step away from the fulfillment because they were now handling, shipping out orders every day, whereas I could then focus on the business side of things. But once we had a fulfillment company now, space wasn't an issue. I didn't have to worry about getting in more staff to handle the levels of fulfillment that we were having to deal with. So outsourcing was a big thing, and it's I think what was good for me is actually understanding how to build a website, understanding all these elements so that when I did have to outsource the sewing, outsource the fulfillment, I could give them a full brief, I could check their work, I knew exactly the standard that I had started and set and that I wanted them to then take over and even exceed. So outsourcing was huge. And then just in life in general was finding balance. So if I didn't want to be burning the candle at all ends, I had to find that balance between being a mum and a wife, church and ministry, and also, you know, running a business. And so that's why the outsourcing was so important, because it freed me up. And even outsourcing recently to fulfillment has freed me up even more, you know. So yeah, I think those are the really main three things for me: was understanding business in general and knowing what I wanted, outsourcing, and also finding balance for, you know, just across my life. So for me, it comes back to balance again. So I'll give you a scenario. When I was still working from home, We have a 3-story house, and on the ground floor it's an office, and the middle floor, that's where our kind of front room lounge area is. And my girls were young, and something had happened and I needed to have my desk in the lounge for whatever reason. So it was in the lounge for a few days because I had something to do. That assignment was finished. So the desk should have gone back down to the office, and it didn't. And before you know it, it's like, oh, let me just bring up the printer. Let me just bring up. So before you know, I had my office, a semi-office in the corner of the lounge so that I could oversee the baby playing, and I could run and do some emails. But what I literally saw myself doing in that space was playing with the baby on the floor and looking over the desk like, I really need to get back to that email. And then sitting at the desk on the email, looking at the baby like, I should really be playing with the baby, and just being totally torn all the time. And then the thought came to me, how do I want my space to feel? And that was huge. And I just said, it doesn't feel right. I need to get this desk out of here, because there's too much of a merge of business and life. It was too much. So for me, especially having young children, I had to separate, and I had to set my work hours. So, even when they started nursery, I knew that, in the early days I had from 9 till 12, and even now I have 9 till 3 when they're at school. And those are the times when I know that they're okay and they're taken care of, and I can switch off as mum, and I can switch on as Camelle Daley, the entrepreneur, and go for it in business. But when I leave my office and I lock the door, I leave work at work, and now I go be mummy, I go do dinner, I go do homework, I go play, go to the park. So for me, it's just huge having that differentiation between life and business, and that's been really big for me in terms of self-care. I always tell people to look for signs in their life of purpose, especially from a young age. And I love the scripture in the Bible that says we're like a tree planted by the rivers of water, and trees have roots that can't be seen. Roots are made in the dark, but what we can see is the trunk, and then we can see your branches and your leaves and what's coming out of you. And so there's definitely, I believe, a lot of clues in our past and what we've been through. There's so many times you'll speak to a woman who's gone through pain, and suddenly she's turned that pain into now I speak on this topic, or now I help families that have this issue because I've been through this issue, or because my parents went through this issue. So that's really, really huge in terms of finding purpose. Prayer is huge for me in terms of seeking God, because he just knows how to put things together in a way that I couldn't even have thought of that, Lord, like how you've brought everything together for me. And so really kind of seeking his direction, asking for his guidance in terms of what to do. And then also to read, there's so many great books out there. Read and glean information, especially on areas that you may need help in. So if it's generally like setting up a business, or if it's doing your marketing or finding your niche, read books, listen to other people's stories. And as you're praying and you're asking for divine help, but you're also doing the practical side of things in terms of doing your research, God will bring those things together, and you'll start to get answers through the information that you're seeking, and through your reading and through your prayers. You'll start to get signs and confirmations, and and I think even starting to see people doing similar things is also a sign. Sometimes I think when you see someone doing something similar, you want to run away and be like, oh, she's done it, let me forget that and not do it. But they're not you. So they're doing it the way they're doing it from their experience and everything that they've done, but no one can do what you do the way you do it. So I think it's so key to, even when you do see someone doing something similar, what is your take on it though? How would you do it differently? And your gift and your voice and your hands and what it is that you do is a gift to the world, from God to the world, and you have to release that and make it happen. And sometimes you have to start before you're ready. Sometimes you just have to just make some moves and make some steps. When I was doing the bespoke line and wanting to actually launch and start selling things, I just decided to follow the need. So actually, what are people buying from me? Okay, they're buying the clergy dresses. Okay, let's do some more of those. Okay, they love these dresses. Okay, great. What else can we do? Oh, they want navy blue. Okay, let's do navy. They want white. Let's do, and just follow the need. So sometimes just get started. I wanted to go into mass production in the early days, but I didn't have the money. Thank God, because I'd probably still have some of that stock now, because I got all the love on Facebook when I was putting pictures out. But when I said, okay, now you can click and buy and I'll make it to order, it was crickets. No one was buying. I'm like, what happened to all the love? Right. But no one was buying. But thank God I hadn't invested loads of money into the production. I decided to grow organically. I decided to make to order. I decided to listen to the need and then fulfill the need, and then keep following that sort of bunny trail of, where people were leading, where the need was, and kept following the need. So sometimes you just have to start. So start something, start selling, start seeing hearing what people are saying. Like I said, I wanted to do the big elaborate designs, but people just wanted a simple black clergy dress. I just want to just encourage everyone to just go for your dreams. You know what's in your heart to do? Just launch and just do it. Just get started. Just start something. Get on the road and just start walking, and just ask God to just edit your plans and just, direct your path and direct your steps. The word says that his word is a lamp unto our feet, and that shows us where we are now. A lamp is a small light right at your feet. So Lord, where are my feet right now? Like, where am I? What is this place? What is this season that I'm in right now? And it will also shed light onto the path that's ahead of you. Noah was building and doing what God told him to do, is in the middle of what just looked like planks of wood, but actually he was going to be saving creation, and so where you are planted, where you are right now, may not look like much, but it is definitely rich soil for God to use and to get glory out of your life. So just go for it. Whatever it is you want to do, launch, go for it, make it happen. If you're already doing it, be encouraged, stay encouraged. What you're doing is awesome, and God's going to do even greater works through you. Sure. So the website for my clergy dresses is House of Ilona, which is ILO, and it's N for November, A.com. That's houseofilona.com. And you can also follow us on Instagram at House of Ilona, and follow myself at Camelle Daley. Yay, we did it! Yeah, no, it's really good. And you asked the question, and then you kind of slowly recapped, which just gave me some time to be like, okay, let me say this, let me say that. Okay, cool. Yeah, I'm ready. Awesome.